Good morning and welcome to the Perfectly Planted podcast. I'm your co host, Daphne Bascom. If you are joining us for the first time today, welcome to the show. If you're already part of the Perfectly Planted community, we want to thank you for spending time with us, and we hope you'll find today's show enjoyable.
That's right. And I'm Besame Sharing. I echo Daphne's thanks for all of you who have been listening and watching to our episodes up until now. We started this podcast really with you in mind and to plant seeds of positivity and empowerment, and really so that you can live your best life and also help the lives of those around you.
And before we get started with today's show, which I think you're really going to enjoy, I want to take a moment to remind anyone who's listening or watching why we are here. Um, Besame and I aren't necessarily experts in all the topics we talk about. We don't derive any monetary gain from the books we review or from the products we discussed. We're here because we care. We care about our health, we care about the health of the planet, and we care about you. And because we've seen the benefits of some of the things that we're sharing and their impact to our own health and our lives, we want to share what we've learned along the way so that you can have those seedlings that may help spark that change, that may help you launch onto a journey that can change your own health trajectory. Now, we don't want to contribute to the morass of misinformation that can sometimes cloud your ability to make your own health decisions. That's not what we're here to do. We want to challenge you, we want to inspire you, and we want to have you learn more about the 7 pillars of Perfectly Planted and to see if they can make an impact on your life. And if we've done that, then we've accomplished our goal. So that's our why. So, getting back to the purpose of today's conversation, Vesame, on our last podcast, we introduced the book we'll be discussing today, which is the OMD Plan by Suzy Amis Cameron. And the book caught our attention because it describes the simple things that you can do to make changes that can positively impact the health and the health of the planet.
Yeah, that's right, Daphne. I love this book because it's quite simple. And it's the message is a very simple one in the book. It's just making those small changes. And one thing that I loved was the first message that they have a header: healthier for us, healthier for the earth, which Susie did name. And it also started the OMD challenge. So OMD stands for one meal a day. And it's really taking one meal a day and making it more whole food, plant based. So if you think about it, don't get shy on saying, oh my goodness, plant based, like you guys are crazy. I don't have time. We're going to share some simple tricks and tips that you can do to just do one of your meals. It could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, um, to do that. So I really particularly love that. But I know, Daphne, just like you said, we're both passionate about this, and you've worked with some of your programs. We've touched on Reach in previous episodes, but would love for you to share more about your experience. Number one. And then number two, people think, let's debunk the myth of protein and needing animal protein to as a requirement for your body to have a sustainment, to build lean muscle mass, to just as your it's a need, just like fruits and vegetables are a need. So I do want to debunk that myth, because just recently I was asked, well, how are you getting all your protein?
Were you surprised you had that question asked?
I wasn't, because I get it all the time.
Yeah. You need to take them to the gym with you and do one of the workouts.
I know, that's right. And that's the other thing. I mean, people think that with fitness, like, oh, I need lean protein. So, um, I know you've changed my frame of thought, because I was one of them too. Like, how do you get your protein?
So, that's I mean, those are good questions. And our messages with Perfectly Planted, I think they mirror a lot of the messages that I derived out of the OMD plan. And it applies to other programs that I've been blessed to work with. First of all, to your first point, you don't need to make large, drastic changes to make a difference in your health or to positively impact the environment. We're really advocating for small changes, and which is why one meal a day is a small change that you can make, that you can add more plants to your plate, and you can also potentially positively impact the environment. And I think we, in our offline discussions, we've been saying every meal is an opportunity to heal. And so the beauty of one meal a day is that you can start small. You can begin with one meal a week if that is less of a leap for you to make. And I think that we sometimes overthink the next step when in reality, the solution could be really simple. And, and a good example is breakfast. A lot of
Mhm.
us have a breakfast that doesn't necessarily include animal protein. So take some oatmeal, take some fruit, done. You've got your one meal a day. To your second question, protein. And I was there with you. I mean, if anyone goes back to, and it's funny because actually looked back at when I first started putting videos on YouTube, and it was like 2013, I don't want to say way back when, but it was
Was
9 or 10
sometime,
years ago. Yeah.
yeah, some time ago.
And, the people that know me historically know that I'm the person that was nibbling on the tilapia in my pocket or the chicken or the steak. So I had the same misconception that I would not be able to be a successful competitor, a successful athlete if I wasn't eating animal protein. But I actually had my best year of competition when I switched to a plant-based nutrition plan. Um, it, it- and part of it was that I don't think I needed as much protein as my brain thought. I didn't need 200 grams of protein a day. And I could derive everything that I needed from beans, nuts, legumes, seeds. Uh, It was all there. And they were in combinations, they were complete proteins because that's the other question we often get, that plant proteins aren't complete proteins. But if you eat a combination and a variety of plants, one, you'll be able to obtain all the protein you need to meet your health needs. And if any of you have watched the Game Changers movie, you know that there are a lot of elite athletes, ultra marathoners, football players, um, elite tennis players that are plant based. And so that myth is, I don't want to say it's not a myth, but a plant forward nutrition plan can provide you with all the protein you need, provided that you add variety to what you're eating on your plate. And we can put a link to some of the plant-based resources for protein in the show notes.
No, that's great, Daphne, because I think that there's lots of people who think, well, if you're trying to lean up, lean protein, that's chicken, fish. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
cut out the red meat and I'll limit my carbs. When in reality, it's actually, you don't need to even do that. And I got to a point where I was doing 2 meals a day. All of my meals except dinner were plant based. And then I was sitting here with chicken tenderloin and vegetables and a little bit of quinoa. And I'm like, why do I even need the chicken here? Like, I don't. And I've said this before, I'm not 100% plant based yet.
Mhm.
It's just been a longer journey. And I think everybody's journey is different. And so, just like you
Exactly.
said, small changes are really important, and go at your own pace. We're just thinking that we'll just, I guess what we're trying to tell all of our viewers and listeners is that just give it a try. One meal. I was listening to Suzy Amis Cameron once, and she was like, "I'm just saying, if you're a cereal eater, which I am not a cereal fan, but if you're a cereal eater, put almond milk or any plant-based milk instead of cow milk, and that's your one meal a day. It could be as easy as that." Even it's granola, have something else, the plant based with it. So it could even be coconut milk based yogurt with granola and fruit and make your own parfait. And so there's so many different varieties and options that it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh my goodness, what am I going to do without my scrambled eggs
Mhm.
in the morning? And also, a lot of people skip breakfast. And so
Mhm.
if we make it easier, I think with this OMD Plan, it actually makes you healthier, not only by eating plants, but also making sure you eat properly. So, Daphne, I would love for you to share some of the health benefits, because in this book, it talks about the decades of research that have been done. They a number of times have promoted game changers. So I encourage everybody, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Netflix, I believe,
It
if
is.
not Prime Video. So go ahead and check it out. But they talk about the scientific benefits of whole food plant-based diets. And so would you mind just sharing a few that they talk about in chapter 2?
Can do. First of all, Dr. Dean Ornish wrote the foreword to this book. And Dr. Ornish is someone who's well respected internationally for the work that he's done probably over the past 40 years as it relates to the net positive benefits that a plant positive nutrition style can have on your health. But chapter 2 of the OMD plan really provides a great overview of many of the benefits of adding plants to your plate. And, there's a growing body of evidence that you can, by adding more plants to your plate, not only add more years to your life, but add more life to your years. And you see some of that manifest in what we were talking about earlier this year in terms of what we see in communities like the Blue Zones. So, first of all, disclaimer number one, when we talk about adding more plants to your plate, we're not talking about eating crap. And the crap
I love this
meaning,
acronym. Yeah. Yeah. It's CRAHP.
yep, calorie
Okay.
rich and highly processed. Because you can eat plants that are unhealthy. And again, just as the meat industry really tried to tell us that you need, and I bought into it for years, chocolate milk after my workout, or I need all of this animal protein. Now what they've done is, because there's been a significant shift in how the communities are investing their dollars into foods that are plant-based, there's a lot of highly processed plant-based foods. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about consuming a predominance of whole foods can support better metabolic health. And by metabolic health, and I'm going to focus on that because I think those are some of the key points that came out of chapter 2. It means maintaining a better weight management, better glucose management, better cardiovascular health. By cardiovascular health, we mean having a normal blood pressure or having normal blood lipids when you get your test from your physician during your annual visit. And then, just as we talked about last week with the Alzheimer's solution, it can also contribute to, over the long term, better brain health. And there are some data that adding more plants to your plate, and I keep saying that as adding, not necessarily saying that you have to take things away, but hopefully that adding more plants will crowd out some of the other things, that you may also help reduce your risk of cancer. So I think those are some of the key things that are discussed in the OMD plan as it relates to the net positive benefits of plants to the prevention or reversal of chronic disease. And that's all from eating plants. Um, Indirectly, if you think about it, this can also help your financial bottom line.
Mhm.
If you're not paying for doctor visits, if you're not paying for medications, those are indirect expenses that people don't always think of when they think about the benefits of staying healthy. But overall, that big picture is eat more plants and you can impact your health. And as we'll talk more on a future podcast, you can also positively impact the environment. And I could go on. So let me take a pause for a minute.
So I want to make two comments on that, Daphne. So the chronic illnesses is a big deal, because I feel as though the highly processed, or as you call it, the crap food, is one that's been accepted in our culture and is much more, it's easier, it's affordable, it's, for working families that don't have enough time, it's the go-to, or fast food or takeout, things like that. And what we've emphasized on this with the prior book review, with the 30-day Alzheimer's plan, is try and cook at home. And so how do we make it easier? And it's really just planning and prepping. is what it is. Because, being a working mother, I need a 30-minute meal. Back to the whole, flashback on Rachel Ray's 30-minute meals, but that's what I need. Something that I can cook within 30 minutes to get on the food. And it's doable. It's doable to make it plant-based, and we're happy to share recipes as well. The other thing I wanted to comment on is the chronic illnesses that we get from these highly processed. And it seems as though, and in this book, it talks about how, it's a pill that then you need another pill.
Yeah.
Then you need another pill to offset all of the side effects from the original pill. And by the way, the pill isn't going to cure you.
No.
It's not going to reverse any of your side effects. It's not going to reverse any of your chronic illnesses either. What it's going to do is just it's going to control it from spiraling out of control. So and I'm talking about diabetes, heart condition, things of those nature. And that it's one of those, you wonder if there's that, and this is totally probably controversial, but is it the big pharma side of it all, where we're feeding people the convenience of crap food, and also having a solution with crap conditions. And I know this isn't the whole part, but we do, definitely grab yourself a copy of this book, because it does talk about the scientific benefits of that. And the reductions of, you can reverse your chronic illnesses through eating more properly through whole food, plant-based. Again, we have the big food industry that loves to market everything as vegan, gluten-free, whatever it may be, but it's not plant-based. So I've noticed that I spend most of my time in the produce section of the grocery store, and then go through some of the, dried foods. And I think Suzy even says it, like, don't eat it if it's out of a box, a can, or a bag, something like that. I'll have to find it. But it's interesting because it's like, don't eat those processed foods. Go to your local farmer's market, go to, a produce stand, and get more local, the better. Anyway, I know we can go on forever, but this also interlinks with what you mentioned, the blue zones and things of that nature. And so I guess the whole part of it is, you are what you eat. So eat good stuff. Your body is your shrine, eat good stuff. And so I know that we've talked about sustainability and longevity. And we've also talked about the blue zones and why do they live so long? Well, that's all interconnected. So would love for you to comment on some of that as well, Daphne.
So I do want to pull the thread on a couple of your comments, because oh boy, we could talk forever. So the first one, so despite the fact that I'm a product of traditional medical training and the healthcare industry, I do think that there are perverted incentives from pharma to, I mean, they're not incented to have healthy communities. Well, most practices today in our existing healthcare model, we are compensated and we're incented to treat disease. We are not necessarily incentivized to keep people healthy. And so there's kind of a gerbil wheel that we're on, that our system is not setting us up necessarily to create a community where health is the value proposition. Whereas treating illness, there's lots of dollars that come from it. I mean, I'll pause there, because
no, I know it's
feel very
a
strongly
debate.
about that one. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's a debate. And let me be very clear that all of the physicians, including yourself, they are there because they want to heal, because they want to treat, they want to help. But the tools and access to care and things that surround the patient's health is lacking, in my opinion. This is my opinion, you guys. So don't, write me and be like, you're so wrong. But this is my opinion. But it's lacking. I mean, and also the coordination of care and communication across within the healthcare system is completely lacking. And I know you and I feel passionate, and that's not necessarily the topic of this discussion, but we want to hear your comments too. So if you have more to add, go ahead and comment on our podcast and we'll address them.
And so two other things, and I know we're over time, and That's why I put 30 minutes on the first slide. Um, so medications have a role. I mean, I don't want anyone to walk away from this saying, well, Vesame and Daphne said I shouldn't take medications.
Right.
That is not what we're saying.
No.
What we're saying is the first step in being healthy is what is health and what do you need to be healthy?
Mhm.
And it, the other thing is I also want to make sure that we're clear that not everyone has access to a farmer's market. Not everyone can go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or has broad access to lots of fresh foods. Frozen vegetables are
Yes,
great.
that's right.
Especially out of season frozen fruits and
Mhm.
vegetables, pull them, put them in your freezer. That way you can have access to them when you need them. The same with, and I agree with you. I don't have children. I'm meal prepping for myself. And so I don't want to say that never have any of the pre prepared plant based foods, but it shouldn't be something that you eat every day. And
Right.
I enjoy trying some of the new things that are coming out because when I look back on, years ago, what was available, even, the plant-based cheeses, which
Mhm.
were really not so good.
Not good.
Um, we've come
Couldn't
a long
melt.
way. Yeah.
Yes, they
Yeah.
have. They couldn't
So,
melt.
the highly processed foods in moderation, and I'm not advocating for them because I still would say that my strong recommendation is to be as whole food plant based as possible, but trying them out, using them um, in moderation. Oof, I don't like that word. Using them
In a limited fashion?
infrequently, yes,
Not as
infrequently.
frequently, that's
'Cause
right.
moderation is not
Yeah,
something that you can measure.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't want people to say that we said never. It's not a never to anything. It's understanding what your options are and making choices that are leading you in the direction of better health.
that's right. So, I mean, I'll comment on that real quick, and I know we're totally going off topic here, but I will comment that, what there are so many great things. And, for weight management and the OMD plan specifically, they say, look, eat whole food plant based. Okay, great. How are you going to get there? Well, you taking baby steps, right? And
Mhm.
so sometimes I really love a good chip. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie.
Uh-huh.
And potato chips are not my thing. I love tortilla chips, but I don't wanna eat, I guess I prefer the cassava flour based, and so I'll try that, but again, I don't eat chips every day because that's you're still eating chips, even though it's a healthier form or the ingredients are less processed, it's still a chip. So I guess my message to everybody is, all right, in like you said, not moderation, but maybe just portion control what you're going to eat in those events. I think it's doable. And so guac and chips are my thing. I'm going to post a recipe on guac. You guys are going to get probably be like, you're crazy. But I'll post a recipe on guac that I love and it's fresh for the summer, but I need the chips to eat it with, or you could
Uh-huh.
eat it with carrots. But I mean, let's be real, like the chip is really the best thing. And so that's where I'll bend the rules a little bit and eat my cassava flour based chips, but not
Yes.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not many. So anyway, we've totally gone off topic, but that's something that's very important, I guess. I guess it's making the right choices for you based off of what's doable for you. But still leading to that goal of, okay, what is my end goal? And let's start, backtracking and making
Mhm.
baby steps to get you there. Because listen, when you're training for a marathon, the first day you're not going to run the 26 miles. You have to build up to it, right? Or you're going
Exactly.
to hurt yourself. And so it's the same thing, it's just on a broader scale.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
So anyway, I found that this is all very interconnected, Daphne. How we treat ourselves, also how we treat ourselves impacts the planet too. I did want to mention as we start to wrap up is that I do challenge all of our viewers for the next 2 weeks, our viewers and listeners for the next 2 weeks to try OMD, one meal a day, make it
Mhm.
plant based, whole food plant based. We will share some recipes and ideas on the blog and also through social media. And so that you can give it a try. Also, we'll share some of our favorite places where we we take a look at recipes and try those. And so that you can see the vast variety. It's, somebody, I think Susie said, eating the rainbow. Yes, it is eating the rainbow, but how do you make it, taste good? Like, what is it? And so there's just so much that you can do. And I'll tell you what, I love a good bowl. So that's one thing I'll mention. So 2 weeks, for the next 2 weeks, let's try OMD. Just one meal a day. It could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
And you can message us here, you can message us on our Facebook or Instagram page, but let us know what works for you, what doesn't work, or if you have questions, you can reach out to us, and we're happy to try and answer the questions too. Um, and as we shared previously, one of the pillars for Perfectly Planted is live consciously. So, on an upcoming podcast, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the messages in the OMD plan that relate to the environment and the environmental impact of what we eat and how we eat. Um, we'll probably go on another mini rant, so be prepared. But didn't want you to think we talk a lot about nutrition, and I will be honest with you, and I know we've said this before. For many years, was completely disconnected between what I ate and where it came from and how it got to my plate. And making those connections was really eye-opening to me. So I think our next conversation on this topic will be a good one.
I agree, Daphne. So, with that, we'll wrap up here. Thank you all for taking the time to join us for another Sunday Seedling. We love having you here. Feel free to share this podcast with your loved ones, with friends and family. And also feel free to go ahead and like or subscribe to our channel so you get an alert when a new podcast is published and broadcasted. But we do want to thank you again. And also, please, we mentioned this, that we'll be posting recipes on social media, but also mainly on our blog, which is perfectlyplanted22.com. And we look forward to hearing more comments and feedback of what you would love to hear next. With that, be well, everyone, and take care.